another episode of Trance. Trance was supposed to come out Friday, but I ended up recording, and you could hear my voice, but you couldn't hear the sounds being played, so it's kind of like a bad thing. So I'm gonna remake it, and this is gonna be like a 20-minute video. So I hope you guys are ready. So a lot of people, been asking me, how do you create those progressive basses? And today we're gonna be creating a different types of basses, but we're gonna be using silent one instead of massive. And massive has a really good bass sound, but I think what silent one has is better is that you can use 4 oscillators instead of the massive's 3. So it kind of lets you build a little bit more heavier sounds, and also massive has a sound to like a saturation that everyone always whines about. So yeah, so we're gonna be using silent one for this tutorial. I just finished this Sound is Sound Monday one, and it's rendering here, so hopefully it doesn't affect anything. Okay, so let's load the presets up. Desktop, this is one of the presets, and then we got one more. Let's load this one up. This one's, I made them Friday, so these are the sounds we're going to be learning how to make. So pretty standard kind of sound. It has that feeling to it, kind of that different notes kind of feeling, kind of like a little bit like Audion and stuff, and that was what I was aiming for. And then we're gonna create something called cojones way. In Spanish, it's just a joke. It just means balls, pretty much, because it's pretty heavy. Should lower the volume. So this one was made because a lot of you guys asked me too that you get those basses made, but they don't sound like they do in tracks. This one should work. The only thing I would say is layer with a sub bass, and we'll talk about that as we go. So we're gonna start with the first bass, which is more of a kind of a progressive trance bass. And the reason that you get that kind of different sound is because I put a note -5, and we'll talk about that today. Okay, so here we have a progressive trance bass 1 that I made. Polyphony set to 1. We're really not gonna be using much, we're not going to be playing more than one note, so really, 1 is perfect. For our first oscillator, we're going to have a square wave for the low end with 8 voices, retrig on, and down an octave. Down an octave just means going from here to here. So that's what this oscillator is going to be doing. So this one is down an octave by 2. So this is our lower end of the sound. We're going to detune it at 10 o'clock. Next, we go into amp envelope A, where we'll have our sustain all the way up and our release set to 1.65. That's all you need to do there. Next, we go into oscillator A2, where we put 6 voices for a saw, down 1 octave. Detunement at 4. I've talked about detunement before. We lower the volume to 7.90 on this one. On this one, I forgot to mention, lower the volume to 3 o'clock. Okay, so once we have that, we go into our filter, where we're going to be putting a low pass filter at 12 dB. Cutoff is set to 2 or 502 hertz. No resonance and no drive. Next, we're going to put our cutoff, our main master filter control cutoff, here at 11 o'clock, and resonance all the way down with the key track down. And then we're going to go into part B for, the part B of the sound. Here we're going to be having another square and another saw. The square in B1 is going to be 8 voices again, down note by 5, so -5 note, and up an octave. So pretty much what's going on, let's say you're playing this note here. You're going to go up an octave. So this oscillator is going to be playing up here, down 5 notes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And pretty much that's why you're getting that sound. Sounds really, really kind of like something's about to happen. It's kind of scary, and it has that mystical feel. Other things you can do is you can lower it down as -7. Oops, playing the wrong one. So there you can see I can change the notes, and you get that effect. So that's pretty much the reason for that. And this is going to be the main, pretty much where most of the harmony is coming from the sound, because the other ones are the low ends of the sound. 8 voices, detunement at 3.38, the retrig is on, volume is set to 8, and that's about it. So an amp envelope B, sustain high, release again 1.88, little bit of attack at 0.05, and that's about it as well. Oscillator B2, we're going to have a saw with just 1 voice, and the retrig is going to be on. Really, detunement at 2.33, I don't know why I have it like that. When you only have 1 voice, you can't really detune much. So now we're going to go into filter B, where we're going to put input select BA. with a low pass 12 dB, cutoff set to 246.36 hertz, or you could say between 12 and 1 o'clock. And pretty much we're done there. So don't forget filter A is AB as well. Forgot to say that. We're gonna lower our mix down, and hopefully you did that before playing it, or else it's gonna be really loud. The reason for lowering it down is because we have 8 voices, and really we have 8 voices here, 6, 8, and 1 here. But these is too much already, and if I were to play this with, you know, the mix A and B up here, we would be clipping in the mixer of silent 1. And like I've stated before, you know, if you want to do a good mix down, generally you don't want your phases. And then by what I mean by phase, I mean the silent 1 phase, the sound comes out of there, goes into a, let's say, an Ableton compressor and an EQ, and then you have everything clipping. Like in the compressor it's clipping and the EQ is clipping. It's not good, and it's a bad habit, and it's better to just try and stay in the green for everything. Okay, so once we have that, now we can start getting into pretty much just shaping the sound here. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be putting a mod envelope 1. Mod envelope 1 is just the same thing as in massive, except the massive one has those little numbers that you can drag under the rotating knobs and shit. Here, you just have to go and put into cutoff AB. You can choose a lot easier. So what we're going to be doing is setting this to the right by 2.76. And in here, all it's pretty much stating is that we are going to be moving the cutoff AB through an ADSR, you know, phase, and pretty much we have an attack, decay, sustain, and release. I've talked about that before. Here we have our decay up, and pretty much what that's going to do is if we bring up massive to get a visual representation, which is way better than silent ones, we can see when we have our attack down and our sustain all the way down, we still have our decay here. So decay down, nothing's going to come out, but once you start putting it up, now things start happening here. You can see it's going to start coming out, and then we can put it higher. Whoops. Decay. You see it getting there. So pretty much the decay is making it longer so the sound sticks around more. So if I were to play this right now, we have a pluck, lower down, nothing coming out. So that's what decay is doing right now when everything else is down. So we go back to the sound. Pretty much what's happening is the decay is going straight to the value that is being set by this. So 2.76, let's just say in our heads, okay, 2.76, that means this knob here is going to turn here, and then it's going to go straight down. So it's just simple decay phase. And we had it here. Let's see, I'm still playing massive. Okay, cool, perfect. And our decay is going to be set to 2.84. You want to be really specific, because when you're dealing with the decay, it's really, really sensitive. So if you change it by just by a tiny bit, you'll turn the sound into like a stab or something if you try to make a pluck. Okay, so once we have that, we're just going to apply some effects. In our EQ section, we're going to have a 1 pole with the bass 4.64 dB. So we're lowering it from where it originally was at the frequency of 110 hertz. So we really, the reason for doing this is just because you kind of don't want to put such a big bass when it's progressive trance, because our kick is already going to be huge as it is. So just lower it a bit, and then we're going to go into the reverb section. We're going to put a little bit of life, give it a little bit of life so it's also dry. We're going to put the dry and wet at 18, size at 10, at 2 o'clock, 1 and 2. Width all the way up, pre-delay at 100, dampness at 4.86, and then a compressor. And we have the comp ratio at 3.05 to 1. All that means is by any sound that goes over the threshold is going to be ratioed by this, which pretty much means for every 3 units you're going to get 1 out of the compressor. And then we have the threshold at -17 dB, the attack at 15.10, and the release at 150.70. Now mix A and B are down at 2.07, both of them, and once we're done with that, then you should be getting the desired result. So it's a cool bass. This is one of those basses I know Audion uses a lot as well, but that's this one. Now we're gonna go to the next one. I'm trying to finish this up. Now we have the cojones way bass. The way you say it is cojones, bit balls if you ever want to say it to your friends. And this one's gonna sound a little bit more dirtier. So it's gonna be really kind of like you could hear the saw and that distortion that's just like there naturally from saws. So what we're gonna do in part A, again, we're gonna lower it down to 1 polyphony. We're gonna put 1 voice with a triangle wave in part A down to -2. So this is going to be our sine bass. Sine or sub bass, sorry. Subs are really important. I feel it's something a lot of people forget to do whenever they create a bass. They feel like, oh, it's a bass, so it must have a sub. Most of the time it doesn't. So you have to go and make a sub. The way you make a sub is just get a sine wave and then you just alter it to however you want. So for this one, it might need a sub. It's all on, depends on the kick as well. So here we're going to be having a triangle wave at 1 voice, volume set to 5. No phase, no detunement, no nothing. Just straight up triangle wave down 2 octaves. And if you want to know how that sounds like, whoops, solo wait. Why don't you listen? That's it. It's a sub. Pretty cool, huh? Yeah, so let's put this back to 1, these back to 2, and let's continue with the sound on solo. So now we go into our envelope A, where, like I've stated before, is where you shape your sound. Sustain all the way up, decay at 1.09, and then we have our amp A release at 1.09. Oscillator A2, we're going to lower it down by an octave. This is going to be a H pulse wave, variant of the square wave or the pulse wave. 1 voice, phase set to 236.57 hertz, volume all the way up, and that's pretty much it. Filter A, we have AB, which is pretty much stating oscillator A and B are going to go into here. And pretty much it's just simple, you know, low pass, 12 dB, cutoff set there by default, just increase the resonance to 2.14 or 9 o'clock and the drive to 9. What that's going to do, the drive is just increase the volume, pretty much it. Filter control, master 1, cutoff is set to 2, no resonance, key track 11 o'clock with warm drive. Warm drive just adds like pretty much what it's stating, kind of makes the sound not as those high-end kind of distortions you tend to hear a lot. It just kind of warms it down a bit. But next we have, I believe, part B now. Oscillator B1, we're going to be increasing by 7. And this is going to be our pretty much that greedy sound you hear. It's the saw. We have triangle here by 2 voices. And pretty much retrig on as well. Phase set to 178.29 degrees. And volume to 3. And pretty much that's it here. Amp envelope B, high sustain. Release at 0.34 and decay, attack all the way down. Next we have our saw. 2 voices plus 1 octave, volume to 10, detunement straight at 12, phase straight at 12, stereo straight at 12, and pan at 0, so straight at 12. And then we're going to put filter B and put select just B, so it's just going to affect this part. And 12 dB, cutoff at 12, no resonance, drive at 9. So once we have that, we're going to go into the chorus section where we're going to put our dry and wet set to 9 o'clock with the delay of the chorus at 8.80 milliseconds and the rate at 12. Depth at 11, no feedback, and width all the way up. So we want the effect to kind of be on the sides. EQ, we're going to increase the bass on this one, 10.43 dB with 92.04 hertz. Treble at 5.71 dB at the frequency of 4124.29 hertz, and I've explained what this does before. Reverb, we have it set to 39.05%, so 40, just to round it off. Our pre-delay is 112.38 milliseconds. Dampness, the frequency the reverb is in, 1.67. The size of the reverb, 4.31, and the width at 43.33%. So once we have that, then compressor, we're going to be putting the ratio at 2.09 to 1, threshold at negative 5.57, attack at 25.09 milliseconds, and release at 12. And next, we're going to just put a simple mod wheel on here and to route it to cutoff AB and put the AB at negative 5.71. So when it's all the way up, the filter is going to be active. And when you let it down, now you have a bass. It's a cool sound. Anyways, guys, hopefully this was kind of helpful. Hopefully you like the sounds. I'm going to put them up on my SemWorld Facebook page. I will also like to say, if you're making trance, send in your submissions to the Evolution of Sound podcast. We've been getting a lot of big room submissions, but I have yet to receive trance music. I've only received like a couple of trance songs, and they were okay. I haven't seen something wow yet, so hopefully you guys can wow me. Make sure to send them in to evosounddemos@gmail.com. I'll put it in the description, and I'll see you guys next week when we'll create something more, maybe another bass or maybe a lead. We'll see. Anyways, guys, you have a nice day.